to my channel, and if you are new, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified when I upload, which will be on Mondays. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some super tasty breakfast ideas, and I'm not joking when I say that these breakfasts are super tasty, because they are. They really are. Just up your mornings as we start to get into the colder weather. So let's get started. Okay, so first up we're making untraditional croque monsieur. It's traditionally French, and I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation of it. So correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, this is my untraditional version of it. So first up, we're gonna make the bechamel sauce. So we're gonna measure out 20 grams of butter to a saucepan, and we're gonna melt that on medium heat. And then we're gonna add in a tablespoon of flour and stir it around, creating a roux. Do this for about 30 seconds and then remove or lower the heat. And we're gonna gradually add in half a cup of milk. I can't emphasize enough that you want to do this gradually because you don't want the mixture to get too lumpy. You want to stir it continuously until it's smooth and then add more and stir. Then return the saucepan to the heat. You want to keep stirring it, and there you have it, your bechamel sauce. Then we're gonna grate some cheese, and typically in croque monsieur, Gruyere cheese is used, but I didn't have any, so I'm just using plain old cheddar cheese. But I mean, totally up to you how you want to make this. So we're grating about 1/3 of a cup's worth of that, and then I'm taking some Swiss cheese and grating about 1/3 of a cup's worth of that. Then to the bechamel sauce, we're gonna add half a teaspoon of mustard powder, and then the cheese, and just stir that around. Then you're gonna cut 4 slices of sourdough bread. This is the molten linseed kind we like to buy, or depends on whether you want 1 sandwich or 2. I wanted 2. And if you are making only 1 sandwich, don't forget to halve the bechamel sauce ingredients. Then we're gonna make the sandwiches. And so to all the slices of bread, we're gonna spread one side of them with butter. Now, if you want to make this the traditional way, you would generally cook this under the oven grill, but we have a sandwich press, and it's just easier for me to use that. So choose your preferred cooking method. And then on the other sides, we're gonna add the bechamel sauce and just spread it around. And then I'm gonna take some ham and place it on 2 out of the 4 pieces, as you can see, using up what was left. Then we're gonna place the pieces together to make a sandwich, and then we're gonna place the sandwiches into the sandwich press or oven, and this should take about 5 to 10 minutes for everything to be nicely melted and for the tops to be golden brown. And then we're gonna make the vinaigrette leaves. So to a bowl, we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of olive oil, 2 teaspoons of balsamic vinegar, 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder, and some salt. We're gonna mix all that together, and then we're gonna add in a cup of baby spinach or mixed salad leaves, whatever you've got, and we're just gonna toss them in the vinaigrette. Obviously, if you use a bigger bowl, this will be a whole lot easier, but you know me, I like to save on dishes. By that point, our sandwiches should be ready, so we'll serve them up alongside the dressed leaves. And there you have it, untraditional croque monsieur with vinaigrette leaves. This is croque monsieur, more the lazy style, if you want to call it that, because it is, but it's still super tasty, which is the whole point of this video. Okay, so this next recipe is baked eggs in patatas bravas. This is a Spanish dish, and I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. So we're going to preheat our oven to 220 degrees. We're going to get out a slice tin or any sort of baking tin, and we're going to line that with some baking paper. Next, I'm taking 2 Dutch cream potatoes and just scrubbing them to get the dirt off them, and we're going to cut them into about 2 to 3 centimeter pieces. So I'm basically just cutting the potatoes into slices and then just keep halving those slices. We're essentially dicing them, but just doing a very rough job of it. But something like this should suffice. So we're going to add the potatoes to the tray, drizzle a little oil over the top of them, and lightly season them with salt, and they're going to bake in the oven for 40 minutes. Next up, we're going to take a brown onion and just finely chop it. I don't know if you would consider this finely chopped, but whatever. Then we're going to take 2 cloves of garlic and just get the skin and the end bits off. I'm going to take out a garlic crusher and just crush those cloves of garlic. Then we're going to get out a saucepan and add a tablespoon of oil and put it on medium to high heat, and ignore what's cooking in the other pot on the stove. That was for the ham that's been featured in many of my other recipe videos, and this is around the time we were making our ham stock. So we're a bit out of chronological order here, but that's fine. But once the oil and saucepan have heated up, we're going to add the onion and just stir that around for about 5 minutes or until it starts to brown. Then we're going to add the crushed garlic, and then depending on how hot you want it, around 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of chili flakes, then 1/2 teaspoon of smoked or Spanish paprika, and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. We're going to give this a stir and cook it for 1 minute until it's nice and fragrancy. Then we're going to add in a can of diced tomatoes, around 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and some pepper to taste. And we're going to bring this to the boil, and this will be a good time to check on our potatoes, as by now they would probably already be halfway done through cooking. So we're just going to use this time to just turn them around so each bit of potato cooks equally, and then we're placing them back in the oven until they're all golden. Then we're going to take our potatoes out of the oven, and they should be just cooked. You don't want them to be too cooked, as they still got some more cooking to do. But we're going to take them out and reduce the oven temperature to 180 degrees, and we're going to add the potatoes to the tomato mixture and just going to give it all a good stir. And then we're going to place the potatoes in the tomato mixture back into the baking pan, and we're going to make 2 indents in that potato mixture just with the tongs, and we're going to crack an egg into each indent, and we're going to place this in the oven for 15 minutes or until the egg whites are all set. Then after the 15 minutes, we're going to take this out of the oven and serve it, and there you have it. Baked eggs in patatas bravas. Yes, I know this is a lot of food for just one person, but I was really hungry. Besides, I don't even think I ate all of it, but I definitely ate most of it. But this typically would serve 2 people if you've got regular hunger levels. But the flavors of this dish are just so amazing, particularly because of those spices, and the eggs just give it another level, if you know what I mean. Alright, so this next recipe is this cheese rocket and ham omelette with peanut butter toast. So we're going to place some butter in a frying pan and just let that melt. While we're waiting, we're going to preheat our oven to 180 degrees and turn it on the grill setting, not the fan force setting like we usually do. Then in a small bowl, we're going to crack in 2 eggs and just whisk those with a fork as much as you can until the white and yolk are evenly mixed together. And then we're going to add a dash of milk, which helps fluff the eggs up, and it is also easier to whisk if you do add in milk. So by that point, the butter should be all melted, and we can pour our whisked eggs in. While we're waiting for it to cook, we're going to grate some cheese. I'm using just some plain cheddar cheese, and if you couldn't tell already, I like my cheese. So I'm grating a generous amount of it, because the cheesier, the better. So once we finish that, we'll return to our eggs, and we're just going to use a spatula to just drag the edges so that they don't stick, and it's always good to rotate the pan so each bit of egg cooks evenly. And then I'm going to add in a nice big handful of rocket leaves, or you can use any sort of leaves or mixed greens, spinach or something like that. Just get those greens in you. And then using some of that ham, you could finally chop it up on a cutting board, or just break it off like I'm doing into little chunks and just scattering them across the omelette. And then we're going to sprinkle all the cheese over and turn off the heat, and we're going to place the pan with our omelette in it into the oven until the cheese is all melted and the omelette is nicely golden brown and crispy on top, which is how it should be. And while this is happening, we're just going to cut up some bread. I'm of course using stone ground sourdough bread, cutting 2 pieces of that and placing them in the toaster on the highest setting, because that actually toasts the bread properly. Then once it's popped up, I'm going to spread the 2 pieces with peanut butter, which I absolutely love. I used to hate the taste of peanut butter when I was little. I just could not bring myself to have it. But then one day when I was cooking a recipe that required peanut butter, I tasted it and I had a change of heart, and now I'm completely obsessed with it. And by that point, our omelette would have been grilling for long enough, so we're going to take it out of the oven, use a spatula to fold it over, first in half and then into thirds, and then transfer to the plate in one swift move. But there we have it, our cheese, rocket and ham omelette with peanut butter toast. You can never go wrong with a good old omelette. I've been having omelettes for years now. They are definitely one of my signature breakfasts, and peanut butter toast is just so much better than plain old buttered toast, right? Certainly a splendid breakfast. Now on to this next recipe, which is crumpets and strawberries. So we're gonna measure out 125 mils of warm water in a jug or water glass, because that was all I had. And we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of yeast, which, as you know, is equivalent to one of these sachets. And then we're gonna add in half a teaspoon of sugar, give it a little stir, and I'm gonna place this in a small bowl of hot water until that mixture gets all frothy. Next, we're gonna sift in a cup of flour in a medium bowl, preferably bread flour, but plain flour was all I had. We're going to add in half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of bread improver. We're going to make a well in the center with a knife and add in the yeast mixture, which should be nice and frothy by now. Then we're going to add in half a cup of milk and a quarter of a teaspoon of bicarb soda. And then, instead of mixing with a knife like we usually do when we make bread dough, we're going to whisk this, whisking from the center outwards, which will help gradually incorporate the flour and make it the consistency of a pie mix, which we've actually made before in one of these breakfast recipe videos. So once we've whisked away, we're going to cover this, use either some cling wrap or use a beeswax wrap, which is so much better for the environment. And we're going to leave this to rest for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we're going to add some oil to a pan, place it on the heat. Once the oil is heated up, we're going to add a quarter of a cup of the crumpet mixture at one time to the pan. Our frying pan fits 3 at a time, and we're going to let those cook for about 5 minutes, or until their surface has got some burst air bubbles on them and is pretty much set. We're going to flip them and then cook for about another minute or until golden, and then add to a plate once they're done, and then just keep repeating the cycle until you've used up all the crumpet mixture. Just look at them cook, it's just so satisfying. And there we go, this mixture made 5, and now it's time to do our toppings, which was strawberries. So I decided to just pile them around the little crumpet stack, and it resembles a bird's nest kind of thing. Kind of nice. I could have cut these up, but I didn't feel like it. And I was also pressed for time when I filmed this, so I didn't really care much for looks at this stage. But there we have it, crumpets and strawberries. This is actually pretty easy to make because there's no kneading or proving or anything like that involved. You also don't have to wait a million years for it to cook in the oven like you do with bread dough. Pretty basic, honestly. Homemade crumpet. And this final recipe is boiled eggs with toast. This is so simple, but it is one of my go-to breakfasts. So what I do to save time is I fill up a kettle with water and put it on to boil. And then once it has finished boiling, I pour some of the water into the saucepan, making it about half full, and then putting it on the heat. And this speeds up the boiling time so much than if I was just to use water from the tap and heat that up. This is a massive time saver. So while we're waiting for the water to boil, we'll just cut ourselves some bread. Again, using the stone ground sourdough bread, I'm taking 2 pieces of that and putting them in the toaster on the highest setting. And then once the toast has popped up the first time, we're going to place it back down again, but only for about half the time. And then once the water's got a rolling boil, we're going to add the eggs to it. So on a teaspoon, I'm going to try to carefully put the eggs into the boiling water, and I always manage to crack at least one. Like, I just can't seem to do it smoothly enough. I have quite a shaky hand at the best of times. But once done that, I'm going to place the lid on the saucepan, and I'm going to set the timer on the microwave for 4.5 minutes, which is the perfect time that it takes to cook the eggs to how I like it. You can adjust the time based on your preference, depending on whether you want a runny yolk or a jammy yolk or rock hard yolk. The choice is totally up to you. We're going to set some egg cups aside while we're waiting, and then once those 4.5 minutes are up, we're going to take the teaspoon again and just carefully grab the eggs out of the water, and we're just going to let them air dry for a few seconds, which also helps cool them down, before carefully transferring them to the egg cups. See, look at how disappointing that egg is. It's all cracked down the side. So annoying. And then by that point, our toast will be ready, and I like to let it cool down a bit before buttering, as I don't like overly melted butter on the toast. Like, I just find that a bit icky, so I like to spread butter on my toast where it will stay at a consistency where you can technically still see the true colour of it. But then once we've got all that done, that is it for our boiled eggs with toast. And of course, the best part of boiled eggs is dipping the toast into the yolk, which, as you can see, when I dipped in, this is the consistency I like my yolk. Mostly cooked, but still with some runniness to it. So jammy, but not too runny and sloppy, because I just find that gross. But do what works for you for this simple classic breakfast of boiled eggs with toast. So that is it for these super tasty breakfast ideas. And wasn't I right? Don't all of these sound just so mouth-watering and just so good? Yeah? I hope so. So I hope you'll try out these breakfast ideas and leave a comment down below if you want to see more recipes. We've done lunches, done a whole bunch of breakfasts, and I do have some dinner and snack videos planned as well. So stay tuned for all of that. But thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. So, till next time, in the next video, I shall see you then. Goodbye.